What is happening?
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're at, depending, I guess, on what part of the country. Happy talking
to everybody. So what's good?
Man, what's good is, I don't know. I think that, we're actually going to have kind of like an official, I teased a little bit of, where we're starting our next project going. Obviously, we've been setting funnels up with our funnel pilot product that we've been doing for about a year now. In fact, I think we're about officially a year with PCG that runs all of our ads for us and everything. And it took a while, but it's humming now.
Yeah.
And we're about to embark on a journey that it was an idea about a year and a half ago. It was not well received and sort of rejected by the rest of the team. But we've come full circle. And the cool thing is that, with who we have assembled on the team right now to be able to support agent lead generation, even from the coaching perspective, and just all the puzzle pieces together, it just made sense we move in this direction. So Honey Badger Partners is already in full swing of launching and getting up and running, which it's not yet. But it's basically going to be not a standard team, but it'll be a self-directed team to where we're going to be able to support all the Honey Badgers, at a deeper level, from helping them not only with their funnels, which we've been doing for a long time, but also directing them on how to set up the right video and follow-up campaigns, and really integrating a YouTube strategy in with the follow-up campaign, which we know when you add a really solid funnel with a good offer to a solid YouTube campaign, the results are you're building trust very quickly, and you chase even less and you track even more. So we're excited for Honey Badger Partners. I think we even have the hats on order, so we're excited to launch that new project. And so we're at the very beginning stages. So if someone is at all interested in checking out what that could be, how you can get involved, how we can work with you at a deeper level, just shoot me a DM and we'll happy to get into some of the meat and potatoes with you.
Yeah, it's exciting to be able to, for that to come, to fruition, I think is pretty amazing.
Yeah, we're excited and I guess nervous at the same time.
Of course. I think it's always the thing, right? Is from a fulfillment standpoint, being able to make the promise but keep the promise, and helping really get results, because that's really all it comes down to. Is the only thing that really matters is able to get the people the results that you're making the promise to.
And I think it's probably prudent and appropriate to say who this is for and who this is not for, right?
1000%, right? You go kind of that whole product market fit, if you will, right?
Yeah. So just to get people clear, if you're listening in, like who this would be for would be probably a solo agent who's really just trying to grow their business and get to that next level, who feels stuck, who maybe has been surviving on referrals and their sphere of influence for their sources of business, and really just haven't figured out the marketing piece. It would also, I would dare say, even be for a small team, maybe a team of 2 to 4 people, I would say, something like that. I think that there might be a way of, making that work, but really it would be zeroing in. It's definitely not for large teams. And I would say that it's not for a brand new agent who needs that real close attention and mentorship. Probably not for a brand new agent who hasn't at least converted, 7 or 8 transactions, or so to speak.
Right.
So, that's who I would probably say it's for. It's had you've been at it for a little while, doesn't have to be, super experienced. Could be even first year, but you've put a few under your belt. I was literally just on a call with a lady from Alabama right before here, and she's 2 years in the business, has really had this goal of taking her business to the next level. For her, last year, she did 6 transactions. She just wanted to do 12. That's doubling it. Right. And so this year she started coming out of the gates hot, and all of a sudden has lost steam because all of her sphere of influence and referrals have kind of dried up.
Right.
Doesn't have a marketing strategy in place. So someone like her, that would be, this is kind of perfect for, and so it's probably a brand new agent just coming out of school. Probably not to say that we wouldn't, consider it, but we're actually, I'm in the midst right now of building out the application. So there'll be an application if you want to apply. When that application's ready, I'll shoot you over the link. But for now, if you want to just DM me, say I'm interested, or, even put in the comments, I'm interested, just let me know. So.
Yeah. And I think if, trying to identify, kind of, if you go back to revisit the 8 stages, it sounds like, somebody probably stage 2, stage 3 probably would be, the ideal fit for this. Maybe even a stage 1 that has, a handful of deals under their belt. But yeah, those early stages, because where you nailed the thing, right, is that the sphere, the relationship business is great. It's highly profitable, but it's not predictable.
Right.
And there's no consistency. And that's where you've got to have some type of predictable system. And that's the thing, right? We're all just one system, one process away from making that next jump in our business. And a lot of agents, they've never, gone this route. A lot of them haven't. Being able to have something that's predictable and consistent in their business. And so that's the key to be able to do that. But if you guys want a copy of you can go to the 8 stages.com and download a copy of the 8 stages there, the8stages.com.
And I'm glad you brought that up, John. Highly, highly recommend you go do that. Just go grab it. If you haven't grabbed a copy, doesn't cost you anything. You should just have that because it's so valuable for so many reasons.
Right.
I think, if your goal is agent attraction, it is a must.
Right.
If your goal is to start to grow your business, which isn't everyone's goal, by the way.
No.
If you're right where you're at, you probably don't need that chart, but it would even still be valuable for you to see it and lay your eyes on it, because it starts to uncover, it helps you see around corners, meaning, okay, here's where I'm going. I don't even maybe know what my problems are. And it can help give you that awareness of where you're at in your business based on your production, or, it could be based on how many people you have on the team, depending on where you're at on that chart, where you fall. It could open your eyes up to like, oh, that is my constraint. That is what's probably holding me back. And it's just a really great tool that I think you should have. So thanks for bringing that up.
Absolutely. I want to, what I'm going to do is you guys can go through, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I can find this. So, there's the eight stages of the real estate business. So you guys can kind of download this, and it walks you through kind of transactions, team size, current situation, pains, what it feels like, skills that need to be able to focus on, systems to be able to focus on, people and support around you, mistakes to avoid, kind of what that X factor, and then really what the goal from that stage to the next. A couple of the things that are not on here that you want to kind of keep in mind, because it's always, right things, right order. It's a system, it's a process. But what Al's referring to, who this is probably best for, is going to be that stage 1 and stage 2, the solopreneur and the seeker. And the solopreneur can be brand new. And what I would say, that might not be best for brand new, because you might need the conversions, you need, the additional accountability, the real estate questions. That, in my opinion, you're best to be on a team and find a team that aligns to your values to be able to be a part of it. But what you want to think about in here is, 0 to $1 million in your business. It's really all about cash and being able to have cash and cash flow for that and for your business. When you get above that $1 million run, then it's really, the profitability, time, a little more specialized in that kind of range. And then you get into the later stages to where that's where people and processes and SOPs and documentation and building that intellectual property that got you to that point. So when you look at stage 1 and stage 2, it's really being able to identify profitable sales, right? And that's typically going to get you, into the 6-figure range. In most markets, you're going to be in that 6-figure range when you get out of stage 1, stage 2. But when you start getting into stage 3, 4, and 5, that's where you're going to be making the run. If you want to go from 6 figures to 7 figures, that's kind of where you're going to be. But you're not going to get there unless you have a predictable selling system in your business. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to break the $1 million barrier in most markets unless you're selling, several $1 million properties. You're not going to get there unless you have a predictable selling system in your business. And then after that, then, once you have that, then like I said, it's, that's where you start to escape, right? When you get into, stages 6, 7, and 8, that's where you're escaping the production, working with buyers and sellers all the time. You're focused on increasing headcount. You're focused on other wealth generating activities, revenue streams. That's where you can make that transition to where you're just focused on agent attraction. You're making other investments. You're making sure that you're getting big bites of the apple with lender, title, insurance. You've got a great preferred vendor program to where, you're generating other opportunities. Maybe you're taking a lot of things, you're investing into real estate. That's where those things happen. And I think why this is such a really powerful, where this is a really powerful resource. And like on mine, right? I have it all marked up for what I just shared, and understanding kind of what happens in what stages and what's missing and what's critical. But what you also have to look at when you're looking at this, we have Icon over there, and we're talking 300 plus transactions, 12 plus agents. That could be your rev share team as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what it feels like, and I want everybody that's watching this, when you print this out, I want you to go and I want you to circle what it feels like, because the whole goal, and this is what you want to write on the top of the 8 stages: productivity, profitability. That's really not the goal. Those are great secondary goals, but the primary goal here is freedom. And whatever you're building, whatever you're doing, you have to make sure that you're progressing through whatever stages that you want to go through. And you don't have to build $1 million, real estate team, but you are in pursuit of freedom. And so whatever you're trying to do, you're making sure that it's moving you to your freedom. And, the exercises, Al, that you and I, we always talk about, the perfect day exercise and your financial freedom number. And you've got to know those two things. And what are you doing to progress through this tool, this resource, to get to that point?
I'll say this too, John. I mean, do you mind putting that back up again real quick? The only thing I'd like to share with everybody, and you did touch on it, was that here's the good news, everybody. like John said, you don't necessarily have to make your way through all of these stages. Most people don't. The truth of the matter is that you can start to find the freedom here. Before you get the freedom, you have to get momentum. When you figure out what your marketing strategy is going to be, you stick to it, you commit to it. Once you get between the seeker and the grower stage, you start to get momentum. When you start going from 2 deals, which is that kind of the max out of the seeker, stage, if you will, is 2 deals a month, right? When you get over to grower and you start moving from 26 to 48 transactions, that's usually when you're going to start to, toward the end of that, you're probably going to want to grab either a VA or an assistant. But like you had touched on, I mean, you're into the 6 figures at that point. You're probably highly profitable unless you're just, blowing money on things that aren't working, assuming you're not doing that and that you're maybe leveraging some good free coaching that you can get right here at Honey Badger Nation. You're highly profitable. You don't have the freedom yet, but what you do have is you have momentum. And when you start to pick the momentum up, that starts to allow you then to start to get a little bit more leverage where you're going to bring someone aboard to show them what you've learned from your solopreneur stage to your seeker stage that's gotten you to the grower stage. You'll start to bring in your solopreneurs to your team, your seekers to your team to suck them up where you're at. And that is the progression as you progress to this hustler stage. And then, so on all the way down the line, depending on how far your ambitions want to take you. The one thing that I also want to reiterate that you had said, John, is that it doesn't have to be a big team. It could be small and mighty. And then you grow your revenue share team, much larger. And we know a lot of, solo agents. I mean, we always like to bring up Dan, but our boy Dan down in Georgia, like he doesn't have a traditional team. In fact, he's been part of a team. Same thing with Andre. Yeah. They don't have big teams. In fact, they don't even have a team, period. Yet they've grown huge, beyond 300. I think both of those guys are over 1,000 right now in their revenue share group. And they're getting to that icon level without the progression or the journey that we have spelled out here. In fact, it's a heck of a lot easier, more fun, and more profitable. So
it absolutely is. And as the progression goes through, one other thing, if you guys are taking notes on this, obviously sales and profitability as we're moving to freedom. And then, like I said, it's the order, it's the organizational efficiencies that are not dependent upon, the owner itself. So really creating that around you. But then you get to a point to where, like kind of where, you're at, Al, right? It's really down to impact. And then once you're having that impact, beyond just the transaction, but then it turns to legacy. And I think, before we went live, we were all, we were kind of chuckling a little bit. You've got a kiddo getting into real estate school. Kendra's got a kiddo getting into real estate school, and I do as well. So the three of us have our kids that are going through getting their license right now. And that's really kind of where it turns, right? It's impact, and then it becomes legacy. And, that's just kind of working through that sequence is so key. And, the thing with where the 8 stages came from, it came from our personal experience, but it also came from our personal experience coaching, thousands of agents, for 15, 20 years. And really understanding kind of what it's like, when you're in those stages. So it's really, really key. Carolyn, yes. So the perfect day exercise really comes from, Frank Kern. And if you can just jump on YouTube and go to, you can just search Frank Kern perfect day. But really what he's talking about is your core identity. And when you go through that process, and the exercise is the moment you wake up, like all senses firing, what's happening. And when you go through and you just go through the whole day, essentially if you had to live Groundhog Day, and you could make it more of a instead of a, Groundhog Day, maybe it's like a typical Tuesday, if you will. And so for most people that I've ever done this exercise with, everybody works. And it's like, even if they're working 2 to 4 hours, they're working. And so the question then becomes, who are you going to work with? What problems are you helping them solve? And then you look at, okay, well, what's going on in the real world? And it's like, well, why aren't you working with those people now and solving those problems for them? And it's back to, who are you having lunch with? What conversations are you having? What are you guys talking about? Who are you hanging out with? And you're like, man, I would never hang out with this person or have these conversations on my perfect day. Then why are you? Why are you doing those things? And it really creates who you are at your core, so you can start making those changes immediately. And then the financial freedom number is, it's Tony Robbins teaches it. It's absolute financial freedom. And he walks you through all of the stages from, security to independence to freedom to absolute financial freedom. There's like 6 steps to go through, but essentially it's, how much money do you need to have coming in that you're not trading time for dollars? Because right now, almost everybody listening to this call, if you don't dance, you don't get paid. We're all a bunch of dancing bears. And so absolute financial freedom is at that point that you're not trading time for dollars. Like if you decide, man, I'm not going to dance for the next 6 months, you still have money coming in to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want. What is that number? And when you go through that exercise, it's always less than what people think. But knowing your number, everybody has a number. What is your number? And then what would you do if you had to live one day over and over again? Those are the 2 things. And that's really where your compelling life vision, massive vision with your height, for me out, what I've learned going through the perfect day exercise and revisiting and thinking about it over and over.
Yeah.
Is it forms standards. It forms a higher level of standards that you start to live and hold yourself to, and the people around you, and the boundaries you start to put up. And so that's absolutely, for me, those are the 2 exercises that helps create the standards, the massive vision that you have for your life. And, to unpack one more thing, when it comes to that massive vision, the vision is 3 things. It's your core values, the shoulds and should nots, the behaviors, the standards, why you do what you do. What do you stand for? What's that core purpose? And then where are we going? What's that absolute financial freedom number? What's that top of the mountain that we're in pursuit of? And it takes all 3 to make a massive, massive vision for our lives.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a call come in. No, I just wrote it down here on my notes because I haven't done the exercise in probably about 2 years, 3 years. And I should be doing it every year. That's just me. I think that it's a great thing to just revisit every year. And it is that good. I remember the first time I did it, it was New Year's Day. Set it for New Year's Day. I really had nothing going on New Year's Day. So I was like, you know what? What a great day to do your perfect day exercise. I would not wait to New Year's Day to do it, by the way. If you haven't done it, just pull it up on YouTube and go through it and be ready to, really commit to it. Put your phone away. Don't take calls and stop it. Like, go all in. I would treat it like like the clarity report.
Yeah.
Where you basically block off, 4 hours or 5 hours or whatever it is, and literally like take it super seriously, because you should. Because so many of us fall into like, a comfort zone where mediocrity is just accepted because you're comfortable and you're not really living your perfect day every day. And when you think about it, I don't know anybody who is literally, I'll give you this. Hulk Hogan, he just did a pretty cool interview with Joe Rogan. I was listening to it at the gym yesterday, and really have a whole nother level of respect for the Hulk after that. I grew up watching Hulk Hogan, freaking, quite possibly the GOAT. Some people would say The Rock maybe, and there's a handful of other. But in his generation, there was no even like this number 2 was way behind. The Hulk was it. Hulkamaniacs, Hulkamania. He even goes into like how he came up with the naming conventions and stuff like that. But a great interview. But he talks about like Rogan's like, so do you do do you do a lot of where signature signings where you go in and do autographs and like appearances and meet all the Hulkamaniacs? He's like, man, maybe one a year.
Yeah.
He's like, and then Joe asked him, well, what about movies? What about TV shows? Remember back, he was on A-Team sometimes, and he was on that beach show. I can't remember the one with Hasselhoff and
oh yeah,
he was on Baywatch. Yeah, he was on Baywatch, and he's like, man, I don't like any of that stuff, man. He goes, you know what I like? I like sitting on the beach and taking it all in, and just where I'm at, like started making me think like the Hulk's living his perfect day. Now, by the way, he also has 35 operations in. His entire back's fused together. He had to kick fentanyl because the doctors put him on fentanyl with all his back surgeries and had to get off of it. And both knees replaced, both hips replaced. By the way, was still wrestling at 53 years old with 2 new knees. And was still doing it. And it is a brutal sport. Everyone thinks it's fake. There's nothing fake about it. The outcome is predicted out front, but those men get
after it.
They get beat up.
Yeah,
and they get beat up a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Like UFC guys might get in the ring once, twice a year for like an actual fight. These guys are sometimes 1 to 2 nights. Like they're fighting in the afternoon in New York and they're wrestling in another thing there. And now Hulk says no to almost everything. He even said, I was hoping Rogan would come to me in California versus me having to go to him to do the podcast, but Hulk Hogan knows his perfect day. It's on the beach in Malibu or wherever, Southern California, wherever he's at. And he knows what he likes to do. He knows what he doesn't like to do. And cool interview if you have a chance to check that out.
You need to. I'm definitely going to. I saw it pop up. I was revisiting the Patrick Bet-David conversation again. Unbelievable. Then you listen to that and you listen to the RFK conversation. Like, if anybody cares about what's going on in this country, those are the 2 conversations to listen to. But you need to listen to Ryan Holiday's book called Conspiracy. How Peter Thiel took down Gawker magazine using Hulk Hogan.
Really? What is this, an audiobook? What was it?
Yeah, you can listen on audio.
What's it called?
Conspiracy by it's one of Ryan Holiday's books.
All right.
I started, I couldn't stop. It's amazing what happened and what Peter Thiel did.
Yeah.
And how he took down Gawker magazine.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, the stories in the Rogan interview with Hogan were pretty fascinating too. Like the back scenes of old school wrestling, and it was gangster like people got killed and stuff. Like it was weird. Like what and Hulk. The other thing that I learned about him is he's so humble. He's so humble. He would look like the last person you would find an ounce of humility in, but he is. And so anyway, sorry to deflect over to pro wrestling, but I just listened to this interview yesterday in the gym, and it reminded me of the perfect day that was what we're talking about. And it's always just good to keep that North Star in mind of, and then revisiting it, because it does change over time too. Your perfect day 10 years from now may not be what you think it is right now.
It really does. I know I did it the first time. I just brain dumped like 17 pages, just writing. But just, like walking through the second you wake up until you close your eyes, like everything, all senses. What are you doing? Who are you having conversations with? Are you doing anything for recreation? What are you eating? Are you fixing dinner? Are you going out? Where, you think about it too, because you may think and I'm with you why you want to revisit it, because as if you got kiddos and kiddos get older, things change. And, are they coming by the house, or are you FaceTiming them? Like what's happening? And, you just really start to, kind of manifest and the life that you really want to design.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my perfect days for 100, I mean, I'm going to be 50 in October, and I don't want to retire completely, not yet. I'm having too much fun. So my
Mhm.
perfect day, maybe for the next 5 years, is going to be different than the next 5 years.
Right.
5 years from now, all of our kids, mine and Courtney's, will be completely graduated out in college in their own careers, maybe even starting their own families. And it's just going to be different. And so my perfect day, I've thought about it, is probably going to be me getting up somewhere in Key West in my house, preferably getting on my center console and cruising out a few miles into the Gulf and catching my dinner for the week.
Yeah.
Fresh fish, you know what I mean? Bringing it back, hauling in the catch, having someone else clean it because I can't stand cleaning fish. Bringing back the fillets, blackening them up, grilling them, baking them, frying them, doing whatever, like eating clean and fresh right out of the sea. That's part of what my perfect day, just to share one thing, like I don't even have to think about that. Like,
Yeah.
I'd go out and I could do that probably every day if I was able to, like, you don't got to convince me.
And people listening in are like, well, what does this have to do with me building my business? It has everything to do with building your business. It has everything, because if you don't have a massive vision for your life, then you get stuck in just reactive mode and you live in a circular world. And, one of the visualizations that, Coach Matt taught me was that we live, we learn, we lift up. We live, we learn, we lift up. And as we're learning, we're making mistakes. But then what are we doing to lift up, to continue to grow, right? And if you do that, you continue to go up. But what happens is that if you're not learning and growing, you move into a circular world. And if you look, it goes down. And the thing that I've seen, Al, over the last 20 years, working with, with agents, is that, and just people in general, right? Just human beings in general, is that they may have started out with this great big vision and where they're at in current reality, but it's hard to go uphill. And remember, everything in life is uphill. And so it gets hard. So what people do is they keep lowering their vision down to where it's their current reality. And that's where they're living, man.
So
and they live in a circular world. And you're better. And nothing changes until you straighten that circle out, man. And you straighten it out, and you straighten it for a big, compelling vision. And it's the Dan Sullivan, statement. If you're not happy with your present situations, because your future is not big. For our present to be better, our future has to be bigger. And this one thing, Al, you said from day one, stepping in the room with us in Mastermind, we said it from day one. The biggest constraint in this room is nobody's thinking big enough.
Yeah.
And it has to start with that vision.
I've been guilty many
All
times.
of us.
I remember the first time I actually stepped in the room wasn't Mastermind. It was at the EGS 2010.
Yeah.
And I know you were there.
Yep.
And there was like 200.
It was an incredible room. What an amazing room.
You had Curtis Johnson. You had Curtis Johnson. You had Blake Sloan up on stage, Adam Hergenrother, and
Chad Goldwasser.
And there was, but
Brent Gove was there too.
Oh yeah, Gove was there. Goldwasser, Hoss Pratt opened up with Burn the Boats. By the way, that is where I politely borrowed Burn the Boats story from, was Hoss Pratt's story, because it moved me. And I guess where I'm going with this is that what that did, and this is about getting in the right room, is that it gave you a belief. You first have to believe it. then you have to take some massive action and then get your momentum going. I do believe, I'll tell you this. I'm in the gym 6 days a week. If I miss my 6th day, I'm making it up on the next day. And so I'm just committed to that. And I've been committed to it for, I think, I've been in the gym forever, but where I've committed to 6 days a week to, like, I'm on a specific regimen. It gets easier.
Is it in the calendar?
It's in my calendar. I know I don't have to wonder, the exact times aren't. I will plug in like today's the afternoon or whatever, but I have to move mine around based on my schedule. Yeah. But what is in my calendar is what I'm doing that day. Legs, chest, Monday, 100%. And so if I miss, it's actually kind of, I just move it to the next day and I'm doubling down on that day or adding, that free day off. And so I allow myself a little bit of flexibility, but not a lot. Like, I ain't missing, period. And what ends up happening is you build a new habit. And when you build a new habit, good or bad, it's pretty easy to stick to it because it's a habit. It ain't something that you have to force yourself to do every day. It's something that if you don't do it, you feel kind of weird.
Right.
But you got to get it going.
It's got to be a habit.
Yeah. It starts with a belief in yourself. So
way of life.
Any questions if anything's coming through? But hey, Carolyn, good to see you again. Thanks for all your comments. And EGS is Exponential Growth Summit. And if you go into your login, you can actually find all the recordings. They're all in there. Into what is it, Kajabi?
Kajabi.
Sign in. So if you don't have that, hit up Holly. She can get you a reset your password. And yeah, that's awesome, man. I don't see any other questions. So Jay's running long on a recruiting call. I got one that's following up right here in about 20.
On to impact others, man. It's good stuff. Right. Well, if you guys have any questions, I know DM Al and call Albie.com, get in the calendar. And then obviously you guys can hit me up if you guys have any questions, whatever you guys need. That's what we're here for. And want you guys to keep rocking and keep making a difference.
Thanks, Adam Lang. Adam said this is his first time on. Thanks for the inspiration. Thank you for allowing us to inspire you. I mean, this is what we're here for. This is what we love to do. So
all day.
If you need us, Honey Badger Partners, if you're going to get on the train, hit me up. And appreciate you guys. Have a great week.
All right. See you guys. Thanks.